No. Okay, so today we are talking about proving quadrilaterals on a coordinate plane. My essential question is, how do I prove different types of quadrilaterals on a coordinate plane?
I'm not ready for today.
Poly with a capital P-O-L-Y. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have different kinds of quadrilaterals. There's just, in general, a quadrilateral. No, people keep stealing mine. This is a closed four-sided figure. What? Okay, so once this error goes away, you guys can see the quadrilateral. Okay, so quadrilateral is a closed four-sided figure. Okay, then the next shape is a parallelogram. Opposite sides are parallel. Okay, so then we have a rhombus. This is a parallelogram with four congruent sides. It's got the parallelogram lines and then the tick marks to show the side lengths are congruent. Yeah. So it's like the parallelogram, like arrows, and then the lines for congruent. So then I have a rectangle. This is a parallelogram with 4 right angles.
I remember I saw someone in the head with a pencil. How's it?
Okay. Then a square is a parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. We'll pretend I can draw squares. I'm gonna write it. 4 right sides. 4 right angles. Yeah. Yeah. Boys in the back, be quiet. Okay. So a kite is 2 pairs of consecutive congruent sides. Okay. A trapezoid has exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. And then an isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid where the non-parallel sides are congruent. So questions on the shapes?
Can you go up to the
I'll show you later.
Yeah.
Okay. So down here, these are things that when I'm proving, I will need to prove. So I'm going to write how to prove each of these in here. Remember, congruent sides were represented with tick marks. The lines. Parallel sides had the arrows.
That's crazy.
And right angles had the box.
That's crazy. Alright, and dry.
Uh-huh. Okay. To prove congruent sides, I can use the distance formula.
That's it. That's the
And then I can also say definition of congruent when I'm proving.
What's easy, geometry or algebra?
Kind of depends on how you think. What?
No. Not even close. Not close. Not one thing. Maybe sign. Well, because he has numbers.
Yeah. They both have formulas and you just have to memorize formulas in order to figure it out.
Geometry is a little more than memorizing formulas. Okay, so for parallel sides, I can use the slope formula to prove that they're parallel.
Does that work?
Is that
Yes, it is.
NSD or rise?
Rise.
Mr. Handwriting?
Awesome, thanks. Awesome.
Thank you.
From this and this.
Okay. So then I can also say, when I'm proving, I can say that things have the same slope. And I can also say definition of parallel lines.
I think it's a lot. No.
Okay? So I can prove things are right angles with the slope formula again. This time I want to have negative reciprocals. So these are the things where they're opposite fractions. So if I had positive 3/5, the negative reciprocal would be negative 5/3. So you take the fraction and you flip the sign. Guys, be quiet. If you can't be quiet, I won't write you a warrior time test today. Yes. Okay. I'll need, or I can say things are perpendicular lines. And I can also say things are right angles when I'm proving. Yeah. Because that's wasting resources. Can I move on to the next page? Okay. Okay, this one wants me to prove if this is a prove or disprove if it's a parallelogram. So what's the first thing I need to do here? Plot the points. So I'm going to go negative 5, 3.
Instead of the level on the other side.
Kind of.
That's a question. Are they different answers? Like,
Kind of. So what? So. Okay, so what do I need to prove to say something is a parallelogram? No. I need to say what kind of lines it has. Parallel. So I want to find my slopes of the lines. So I'm going to start with my slope of AB. So what's my slope right here? Because remember, the letter M is slope, and I'm specifically saying for the line AB. So what's my slope right there? So it's negative 3 over 1, or just negative 3. What? What is my slope of BC? How many am I going up? None. So I have 0 over 5, which is just 0.
That's like the bottom of your console out.
Whenever you have 0 on top, it doesn't matter what the bottom number is, as long as it's not another 0. It'd still be 0. Huh? Then it'd be undefined. Okay, then I have M of CD.
What if it's flat?
What? So negative 3 again. And then I have the measure of, or the slope of MD, AB. 0 over 5, so 0. Questions on finding my slopes? Well, now I need to actually write my proof out. No. I'm sorry. They appear this whole class. Why aren't you going to remember this next week? That's why I'm trying to get to the test next week so you don't have to remember this after next week.
Next week again, test?
You do Wednesday, Thursday.
Wait, is it this week for the thing?
The benchmark?
Yeah.
Huh? It's not a grade, but you need to do better than you did whenever we took it last. I think it was December. Okay. So, what do I want to start off with? What do I know? Okay, so I know that my slopes for AB and CD are both negative 3. I'm sorry. Then I also know that BC and AD are the same. And this was by the slope formula. Okay, so what does it mean when I have two slopes that are congruent? No. What does it mean? You're skipping. Two slopes that are the same. What does it mean those two slopes are?
Wait, what's the question?
I have two slopes that are the same. What does it mean? Those two lines are... So I know that AB is parallel to CD, and BC is parallel to AD. And this comes from definition of parallel.
Is that the first one? That's hard.
How is it hard?
There's a lot of hard, a lot of going on.
A lot of what? You need to give me a specific of where it's hard. I can't help you if you just say it's hard and don't tell me why.
Step one, step two. There's a lot of steps. Yeah.
That doesn't make it hard, that just makes it long.
What if you do like one?
The little m means the slope of the two lines of the... Okay, so now that I know, so I wrote that these two lines are... I'm going to do this in green. So I have that these are... You want me to stop going over this and just give you the test? You!
What?
You keep complaining!
I'm saying that's something.
Okay, so I know my two sets of lines are parallel. What can I say now about this shape? That's it. Wait. Yeah. There's no special shape in front. Why is it a parallelogram? So it met the definition. Because the definition of parallelogram was that it had two parallel sides. I mean, two sets of parallel lines. Can I move on? Okay, so the next one wants me to prove or disprove if it creates a rhombus. So I plotted my points, and I labeled two of them C. Let's see. Mark, be quiet.
Why Mark?
This is loud.
You're like
How is that racist?
I don't like it.
Why are you friends with them?
Because I feel bad.
Oh. Okay. So rhombuses are what kind of shape specifically? No. Like, words we... Yeah. So the first thing I'll need to do is, before I can prove it's a rhombus, I need to prove it's a parallelogram. Okay, so... What was the first thing I did to prove that the first proof was a parallelogram? I had to go find all my slopes. So what is my slope for A to B? What goes on top, rise or run? Nice, so I have negative 4 over negative 2, which simplifies. Why is the 2 negative, first of all?
Because he doesn't like to be positive.
Because we went left instead of right, yeah. So what's negative 2 divided by negative 4 divided by negative? Positive 2. Okay? Then I'm going to do the same thing for B to C. So this one simplifies to
Negative.
okay. Then I have CD. It's actually positive 4, positive 2. Because I'm going up 4 over 2 from C to D. Because I went from A to B, so I went left to right. I'm going from C to D, so I'm going, yeah. It's just the order of the letters. A to D. What mark? Okay. So going from A to D, I'm going.
A, B, what?
Because that's alphabetical order. -4/2. Excuse me, -2 again. Okay, so the first part of this is going to be just like what we did up above. I need to prove it's a parallelogram. Mark, stop singing. Okay, what do I want to start off with for my statements? Which slopes are congruent? Mm-hmm. No, because I need to prove it's a parallelogram first.
Once you prove it's parallelogram, you can prove it's a parallelogram, and then you go on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if it says like A to B, why wouldn't it be like just parallel?
Hold on. What?
If it's like A to B, why wouldn't it be over 2 down 4?
Because you always do rise over run. Okay, so then what comes next? Yeah, I find it's parallel, not a parallelogram. So AB is parallel to CD, and BC is parallel to AD. By definition of parallelogram. I mean, a parallel.
That'll still be wrong.
I'll go back and fix that. Okay, and then now what can I say about this shape? Yep, so I can say ABCD is a parallelogram. No, I said not to do it right when I said you have to say it's a parallel, like the two sets are lines. Okay, so what's the part about being a rhombus that makes it different from a regular parallelogram? All sides are congruent, so now I need to do what to prove all my sides are distance formula. I could do it for all of them, but notice all these triangles are 2 and 4. So I can do it for just one of them, and then because I need to find the actual distance, and then I can say it. Okay. So plugging into the distance formula, what's my x2? My x1? Oh, wait. 0. What's my y2? And my y1?
4.
So, is it still on the screen? These are the two sets of points we use. A and D. And then I plugged into the distance formula. What? We just picked those points because we decided all the triangles were the same. So we could have picked any of the others. Okay, so then I get square root of 2 squared plus 4 squared. What's the square root of 20? 4. Are you just saying 4.5? No. 4.47. Same thing as what? No. If it tells me where to round. If not, I always just default to 2. Okay, so now I can say, I don't know why I have it equal to C. I don't equal it to anything. It'd be the letter D if I was, because distance for me, I don't know why I wrote a C. Okay, so then I can say AB equals BC equals CD equals 80. And that equals 4.47. How do we figure out that length? So when lines have the same length, that means they are all. So I can also write AB is congruent to BC, is congruent to CD, because that's just how it works. So this is definition of congruent. Mark! So now that I know all my sides are congruent, I forgot to put this up on my picture. Okay? And then I know they're all congruent. What can I say now? I have all the sides are congruent, and I have my two sets of parallel lines. No. Hold on, let me finish writing this, and then I'll say. My pen. There's one proof like the one up here with the parallelogram. There's, I think, one of the rhombus. And then it's like questions from the quiz where you have to solve for the angles. Let me just say. Oh, no, not solving for angles. Saying what kind of shape it is. I think so. So there's